There we go. How are you, Patricia?
Great, Melissa. Glad to be here.
Good. Nice to see you. For those that are joining us for the first time, I'm Melissa McLeod, and I'm here in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, just outside of Detroit, at my shop, The Wool and the Floss, and with my partner in crime, Megan Holmes from the Needlepoint Clubhouse in St. Louis. We are the Pointing It Out team, and we're glad you're joining us. More importantly, today we have Patricia Sone with us, who is a needlepoint teacher, a designer, a traveling teacher, probably some other umbrellas I haven't covered, but we'll get to all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me ask you one really important thing that I have been meaning to ask you forever. I know some people call you Trisha and some people call you Patricia. What do you prefer?
Well, friends and family call me Trisha.
Okay.
In the needlepoint world, I started using Patricia. Some people can't spell Trisha. They don't know what that is. But everyone knows the name Patricia. And so it kind of got started by a shop where I worked. And then once you've taught a few classes and they've advertised you as Patricia Sone, it just kind of stuck. But truthfully, no one calls me Patricia outside of the needlepoint world.
Okay, well, I like to consider myself a friend, so I'm going to try to
transition
myself, but I can't guarantee I'm going to do it right now because then I'll trip over all my words. So.
That's okay.
So where are you right now?
I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I'm in an upstairs bedroom, which is my workroom.
Is it? Good.
And it's very full.
Full of work?
Full of, yeah. Yes.
So is this, we're probably jumping ahead, but do you have children?
I do. I'm married. I have two grown daughters, but they still come home like this week.
Correct.
So, yes. So they're both mostly gone.
So I have three almost adult children, one who's still in college and two that are out of college. And I keep thinking, when they leave, am I going to take over one of their bedrooms for an office? Because I don't really have an office. Like I float around my house at whatever space is convenient. And
I hear you.
So it sounds like you kind of adapted them, but you clean out when they come home.
But they come home and they still need a bed to sleep in,
Right.
You can't completely clean out the room. This is a large room, thank goodness, but I really need another room. But anyway, one daughter lives in New York and the other one is finishing up law school at Duke. Oh, nice. So she's on her last year. So
wow. Anyway. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Good. So has Dallas always been your home?
Always. And I married a guy that went to my high school, and we like to joke that we just haven't gotten very far from where we started. We're still in the same neighborhood, but if we're fortunate, it's a nice neighborhood,
Right. Well, I can't really laugh. I'm laughing with you, not at you, because I'm pretty much the same thing. Like I went away to college and then I came back and I live within a mile of where I grew up. So, and the shop that I work at is where I learned needlepoint. So,
oh, that's nice.
The shop that I own. I don't even know why I said work at. I did work at it for a while. Now I own it. So yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. And did I read that you went to SMU?
I did. I went to Randolph-Macon in Virginia, and then I finished at SMU.
Okay. So I have two of my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, my husband's two siblings, both went to SMU.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of funny because you don't have that many people going to SMU from the Detroit area. So.
No, well, there are a lot from the Midwest, though, like Chicago, St. Louis. A lot of people come to SMU.
Well, we all dream of that nicer, warmer weather. And yeah.
That's right.
So today it's like 30 degrees and snowy here. And what do you have there?
It's about 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep trying to like you. I'm a warm weather girl. I shouldn't be in Michigan, but here I am. So
it's kind of nice down here. You might like it.
I know. Well, I've certainly liked it when we can come to trade shows, and your trade show's a stone's throw from your house practically, right? When we're in Dallas.
Maybe this year.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. September. There's hope for that for sure.
I think there is.
Oh, well, we all, the whole world needs to get out, and all of us in the needlepoint industry really, I think, have this huge craving to be together. So
yeah, we just miss each other.
Yeah. It's a special industry. We're very fortunate. So you went to school, you finished at SMU. What was your degree in?
Well, I would like to have been an art major, but I got discouraged early on, and I shouldn't have listened to them. But I changed my major. I majored in English, and I love that. I love writing. I love reading. I mean, I'm happy to have an English major, but that's what I ended up with. But I've taken lots and lots and lots of art classes and more since school.
Nice. And so have you had other careers besides the glorious one that we're going to discuss?
Yes. I worked actually as a paralegal in the oil and gas industry for about 20 years. And then I got married, 2 children. Yep.
So you've been an at-home mom and a working mom and probably a part-time working, part-time taking care of the family, which is never part-time. We all know that. That's the full-time job. That's the real.
It really is. It really is.
Well, and I will tell you right now that I've been working more than full-time. My house is showing it. Like, it is such a disorganized mess right now, but there'll be time for that later. It'll all be okay. But yeah, it's you can tell when you ignore it.
Oh yeah.
Well, so tell us about your stitching background. At some point you learned to stitch.
I did. I had an aunt by marriage that lived in Amarillo, which is up in the Panhandle part of Texas. And I went to visit her, and I don't know how old I was, maybe 13, 14. And she was a needle pointer. And so she took me to her local shop in Amarillo. And it was this little shop, and it was called the Betty's because it was owned by 2 ladies named Betty.
That's so cute.
And it's cute. It was cute. And they got me started on my first piece, which was it was Bargello. That was when Bargello was really in. Yeah. And of course it was just wool, pattern and wool. And it was just almost like a simple little zigzag with 4 colors.
Right.
I can't find it.
Oh,
I know. I wish I had it. But that was my first project, and I really enjoyed it. But you know how life occasionally gets in the way of needlepoint.
For sure.
So there was a time there when I just didn't have time to stitch.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it, but I just didn't. And then about maybe, I don't know, 25 years ago, a friend called me and said, needlepoint has changed. They've got all these sparkly threads now and silk, and it's not just that old wool anymore. Right. Do you want to go check it out? And so we did, and it just opened a whole new world. I think the fun threads were really what brought me back into it.
For sure. And I've heard that a lot during the quarantine-ish period, different phases of it, of course. People that have used to stitch 20, 30 years ago, and they're like, this is so much more fun now. It used to be wool or DMC pearl cotton, and that was kind of, your choices. And, right. I even remember when people started using pearl cotton because it opened up a world of color options. There were even more. Yeah. So now we've got sparkles and shines and variegated and all those fun things. So
yeah.
Makes it a lot more interesting. So you started back up again like 25 years ago.
Probably. And then when my girls were in high school, I hung out at a local shop so much that they offered me a job. And they gave me the job that no one else wanted. And that was being the thread person, the person that ordered the threads.
Oh. Yeah, so my friend Megan
I loved it.
She has she calls her threadstress. I think I'm saying that right. And I always kind of stick my tongue out at her because I'm that girl here. And I'm like, I don't want to hear about how you have someone who ties all your threads, because that's a tough job. Like, you've got to be organized. You've got to think through what you sell more of and what you sell less of. And, it sounds like a simple thing, but it takes a lot of.
I loved it because I got to know all the thread lines. I got to know the thread vendors. I got to know what was out there in terms of threads. And it was a great thing for me to do. So that was fun.
Good. And am I to guess that job morphed into you suddenly teaching there at some point?
That was when shops were starting to do classes, and I actually offered to teach a piece that I had stitched, and they weren't sure, but anyway, so I taught it. And you know how it works. You teach it and they go, well, that was fun. What are you going to do next? And you're like, next? Oh.
That took me 2 years to stitch. Now I have to figure something else out in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I started at my local shop, and then other shops started calling me, and eventually it became time to just go independent. And that's what started all the traveling. But COVID, of course, has changed all that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to go back to traveling. I know I'm not as much as I was, because I was traveling an awful lot. And right. I have this sweet husband sitting here, you know. And the thing is, shops usually want you on weekends, which is,
of course,
yeah,
and it's exhausting. You know, it's tiring to schlep all that stuff, and yeah,
it is. And I kept getting sick. Anyway, so I'm not going to teach as much. There are a few shops that I'll go back to, you know, but I really enjoy the design work, and I can do that in Dallas.
There you go. Well, and have you toyed with the idea of doing any sort of virtual teaching?
Yes, I want to. I like Kelly Clark's plan of how she does it.
Yes,
where you buy your supplies from your local shop, because I want to support the shops.
Well, we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I love all these new designers. I love their fresh ideas, and I understand why they're selling direct, because they're young. That's what they know. They grew up with a computer in their hand, you know.
Right.
But the flip side of it is that, you know, the shops, of course, I'm a little biased as a shop owner, but we bring a lot to the table in terms of being able to touch, feel, see, and bring the threads together with the pieces.
And give advice, and also it's a community that you can go into and meet other stitchers. So anyway.
Yeah. So
I would like to do something for next year. I'm thinking about it.
Well, it's having toyed with it myself. I am a teacher as well. I'm not the level of teacher that you are, of course, but I fit the bill for a lot of stitchers. And it's really hard to do a quality virtual class. And it's hard to then be the person accepting money for a class when you don't feel like you're providing the level of quality that you're used to providing. So it's hard to kind of get the virtual pieces of the pie to fall into place so that it's a quality education. So I understand why you're taking it slowly.
Yeah, I want to get it right when I do it. So.
Well, and the other thing that I think that you are doing really well for me is, for instance, I pulled one of your little hearts off the wall, and I love, this is the one with the bee, of course.
Bee, of course, for Melissa.
That. But I'm going to pull this out for a quick minute, just in case people aren't familiar with it. I know for many of yours, sorry, I should have pulled this out ahead of time. It's noisy. For a good part of your line, you have stitch guides that go along with it. And to me, this is like a class in a box. I mean, someone could buy your stitch guide, see all your charts, you write really great descriptions, and it's almost like having you by their side. So,
well, I like including, I don't include guides for everything, but sometimes as I'm designing it with certain stitches in mind. So it just makes sense to include the stitch guide with it. And people don't have to follow it, you know.
Right. Well, I tell people all the time, it's a guide. It's not a rule book. Like the needlepoint police are not going to come and find you if you decide just to basket weave the whole thing.
No, it's just a starting place, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we kind of jumped ahead a little bit though. So I think I met you first in San Diego, and I don't know if you would remember that. I was just the little shop girl here. I did not own it. I was the teacher here, and we were in a class together. And I think you were just teaching. You weren't designing.
I can't remember what I was teaching, but I do remember you from.
Yeah, we were both students, I think, in actually a Susie Valerie class. And we got in a big discussion about ribbons and which ribbons were our favorites and not favorites and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't too long after that you suddenly popped up with your own room. So I can't remember when that was. When was your first year having a booth?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe 3 years ago.
That's what I was going to guess.
I started out doing it with Victoria Whitson.
Correct.
We shared for the first, and then our lines have grown to the point that we can't do that anymore. But think it's 3 years ago, but honestly, I'm not sure.
Right. That's an interesting question too. I should have asked you that ahead of time. So you and Victoria, I think Victoria is also from Dallas, right? Is that how you know each other? From being at the local shops together? Is that how you ended up?
That's where we met.
Nice. I know. She's really great. So your first designs, I'm trying to remember what was in your first booth.
Well, the first design, were these little, and I've got one right here, these little frames, the little easel back frames.
And I've got the hanging version.
Yes. Yeah.
So
those came second. And this was just kind of a good way to get started with some little bitty things.
Right. Well, and especially this year, I hope that those are still continuing to sell well for you. They're continuing to sell well in my shop. With all the pressure on our finishers,
right?
It's really nice to have something you can self-finish. And for anyone watching this who hasn't finished these themselves, I have never finished anything in my life. You literally, and correct me if I'm wrong, like here's your piece, you finish stitching it, you cut 2 rows, you leave 2 rows of white canvas, open up the back of the frame, it just comes open, boop, pop it in and you're done. It takes zero talent. Takes way less talent to put it in the box than it does to stitch it. So
yeah, I think we've all come to appreciate self-finishing things this year for sure.
So you had all those little self-finishing guys, and then what happened next?
Well, I have these 2 daughters, millennials, and they said, "Mommy, we want you to do things that we like, things for our apartment or our whatever." So they advised me on those sayings.
Oh, nice.
All those sayings that I do.
Yeah, the needlepoint enabler and
like this one.
Yes.
Yeah. And so there's really 2 sides of my business. And my little byline is elegant and witty needlepoint design. Well, the elegant is mine. The witty is what they want me to do for them. So I guess that's what came next, were some of the sayings that they wanted me to do.
So are they actually designing things, or are they just kind of planting the seed?
No, they're just full of opinion.
Well, good. Someone has to be.
So the younger one Olivia was home for Christmas, and she told me she's taking this back with her.
I love it.
Of course, this is Texas, but she wants this. I'm like, I need that back from market. Okay.
Whenever that may be.
Right. I'm going to need that back. But so they're my advisors on the Millennial collection. On my website, it's broken down into collections.
Right.
So I think that came second.
Okay. And then you've got a great selection of eyeglass cases.
Yeah, those have been fun. I'm going to do more on 13 mesh. I think people like that.
Well, those that need eyeglasses probably also appreciate the 13 mesh.
Right. Yep.
Well, I know
there's a bunch of works.
Topiary ones, so that's fun. Good. And then I have some of your coasters, and so you these are the Planet Earth self-finishing coasters. So you are designing around some of the self-finishing pieces. Is that correct?
I did for those the little pagodas. Next year, though, I'm going to have some 4-inch coasters. I think on 13 mesh.
Okay.
So
nice.
Make them a little bigger.
Right. And then you've got your fabulous angels. Then those were out about this time last year. Is that right?
That was last year. And they were fun. I love angels, and there are already a lot of pretty angels out in the market. So I had to make them different somehow. So I just decided to make them textural, do them all white with a little gold. And I definitely was thinking about what stitches I was going to use when I was designing them, because they're really very simple.
Right.
Line drawing, almost line drawings. But then you look at the stitch guide and you're like, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do, Yeah. So I've got one up here. So it was really a texture thing. It was fun.
When you're doing that, are you stitching it as you're, like, what comes first? Are you writing the stitch guide? Are you drawing the canvas? Are you stitching it and then creating the others, or does it all kind of happening all at the same time in your brain?
Well, I designed all 6 of them at once, then I stitched them. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So, but you said you're thinking of the stitches as you're designing them. So when you're So you're just thinking of the stitches on paper and then you go back and you stitch them in real life?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
Because like Tara at Pip and Rue, she literally stitches on blank canvas, which is mind blowing to me.
I don't know how you do that. I'm impressed.
I know. It's absolutely mind blowing. So
no, I draw everything out with pencil, and I use a lot of erasers. And I don't do it on a computer.
Okay. And so are you drawing on paper or are you actually drawing on canvas?
No, I draw on paper.
Grid paper.
And then you outline it, make it dark so it shows through the canvas when you start painting.
Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of old school, I guess.
That's okay. If with all the art classes you take, that was the era your art classes were in. So what is what
like
feels
to draw. I don't want to do it on a computer.
Right. Well, now a lot of the art classes for my daughter has minor in design from WashU in St. Louis, and a lot of their classes, the art classes were, CAD. They're all computer design. So, it's the era you learned in and the era you're comfortable. So,
it is. You're right.
That's okay. Well, good. And then I know we are about to receive 54, I can't even believe it, 54 of your fabulous nativities. Like when I said, oh, I'm going to run this as a club, I figured I'd have I loved it. And I did dress for you today in my blue and white.
And I wasn't that smart, but yeah, I have him here, the little baby. And here's Mary.
Oh my God.
They're little, she's like 3 inches tall. So they're very doable.
They're so great.
Where's Joseph? That's Joseph. So it's really fun to design, and I'm thrilled with the response.
I mean,
yours are coming soon.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy for you. I was blown away. I loved it. And I figured, well, I'll offer it as club. I'll probably sell 15 or 20 of us will do it. And now there's 50 of us. I think I have 4 spots left or something like that. So, and I already have another nativity, but I just love this one so much. I'm like, well, I'm going to make another one. So,
well, I've stitched a lot of nativities. I love stitching them, Well, so when you have several children, you might need several sets, right?
Correct. The funny thing with me, and I'm a little embarrassed to even admit it, but I will because I admit everything. I'm not even really very religious. Like I can't tell you the last time I went to church, and I still love nativities. So,
Okay. It's okay.
Well, they are fabulous, and we are super excited at this shop for it. So,
well, I appreciate your promoting it, and I mean, wow, I didn't know if anybody would stitch a nativity in this day and time. And it has sold well.
And then you also, and I had my magazine handy, but now I don't suddenly. But I know you were on the cover of Needlework Retailer, which of course most of our audience won't be familiar with. There we go.
You know what? They sent me they made it up into like a thing I could hang. Isn't that nice?
Oh, that's really nice.
I know.
So that for those that aren't watching us, that's an industry magazine that arrives to all the shop owners for free. The designers receive a complimentary copy, I presume. And
I couldn't believe it when she called me. Said, we want to put it on the cover. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's so great. That's so great. Well, you did. It's well deserved. How long did that whole process take you from the start of deciding you were going to do a nativity till it was all done?
Well, I call it my COVID project. It was this year, but I had it finished probably by, July or August. Once I get going on something and I get it figured out, you just kind of knock it out. But that's that and the hearts. That's what I did this year.
They're all amazing. So tell me this, have you always been a big blue and white fan, or did the blue and white nativity kind of start because there's so much blue and white in the needlepoint world right now?
I do like blue and white. And when and there's so many, like I said, there's so many pretty nativities already out there, a lot of which I've already stitched. I thought, how can I make this different where someone will feel like they want to do it? And I don't know, it just hit me one day. I thought, you know what? Now it couldn't be all blue and white just because you can't make the hay blue, but there are a few brown tones. A few brown tones, or like the poor camel. I mean, I couldn't make his fur blue, but I tried to get as much blue in there as I could.
Right.
So
well, I am so excited to start stitching it. So it's going to be really, really fun. And I think very satisfying because they're little pieces.
they
And
are.
I think everyone will learn a little bit of something. Your stitch guides, I have told people repeatedly, you write great stitch guides. They're very clear. They're very concise.
That English degree, right?
There you go. See, it did pay off.
Good, after all.
But yeah, so it's a way to like feel accomplished because it's a small project and to learn a little something along the way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
Oh gosh, that was an easy thing to peddle for sure. So, what else? Oh, so when you are writing your stitch guides, do you have do like your stitch ideas? Do those come from just pop out of your brain, pop out of your pencil? Are you a book user?
I have hundreds of books. Okay. Literally.
I'm a book junkie as well. So.
I mean, another one came 2 days ago. I love buying the used books like on Amazon, or if you have a good book, always a stitch book, look in the back. If there's a bibliography, if there's a book on there you don't own, just get on Amazon and find it. Sadly, a lot of the used stitch books sell really cheaply. And I just have, I love, some people read cookbooks. I read stitch books.
Oh, me too. I'm in a class with Kelly Clark right now, as a matter of fact, and she was saying the other day a couple of her favorites, and like it's barely out of her mouth, and I'm on like the sideline on the computer, like Googling the book and ordering it because I'm like, oh, Kelly liked it. I need it too. Oh,
yeah. Well, someone told me once, if you get one really good idea out of a book, it was worth it. And I agree.
Yes, for sure. And do you have some favorites?
Oh gosh. Well, some of the older ones, like Brenda Hart's books, I think are really good, particularly for backgrounds. Susie Murphy, hers are great. Carolyn Hedge Baird, I mean, wow. Yeah, she's so talented. I hate to name names because I'm sure I'll leave some out, but it's that like new Lone Star Stitches, the Lone Star book from the Guild in Houston. Wow. Of course, Houston is, needlepoint Mecca, but that book is great. It really is. Yes. And it was all new stitches that you hadn't seen anywhere else.
Yes, I've used it a lot myself. So
those are just a few. There are a lot of other ones.
There's so many good ones. And then as soon as I think that I have a favorite, then I dig into my closet and I'm like, oh, I haven't looked at this book in a while. And like, then it's like, it's all brand new when you haven't looked at it in a while.
Yes. I also try and buy old embroidery books because really all we're doing is embroidery on an open weave canvas.
Correct.
I mean, a lot of these stitches are really embroidery stitches some of them from the 1800s. So I have old embroidery books and you can learn a lot from those too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's super fun. So tell us a little bit, we've talked a little bit about your line in general. Do you know how many designs you have in your line?
I really don't. I'd say maybe, because, I have all those little ones, 150. That sounds like a lot. I don't want a huge line, but that would be my guess.
Right. And why do you say you don't want a huge line?
Well, it's a lot to maintain and a lot to keep in inventory. And particularly right now, you have to order so far ahead. It's just expensive to keep all that. And if something's not selling very well, I'm not afraid to let it go. I'm really not.
So are a lot of your first designs still part of the line? So it's only, yeah. That's great. And do you have a bestseller or a worst seller or personal favorite?
Well, thanks to you, the Nativity is probably the new bestseller. Before
I think that's thanks to you, but anyway, go ahead.
Before that, this just keeps selling.
Well,
people living well is the best revenge. Yeah, just sells and sells.
Well, and it's blue and white too. Apparently it's a theme. And anything that hasn't sold that surprised you?
I had this one piece that someone asked me to do, and that doesn't always work out, but it was for a guest room and it said, "Be our guest." And I just didn't do a very good job on it. The design was just terrible. That is not sold. I think it's off. I think it's off my website now.
I don't think I've seen it. So
no, I think I got it off there. But I don't let things linger if they're not doing well.
Getting the axe.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, good. And what are you working on now? You alluded to some things earlier, some more eyeglass cases.
I have, after the Nativity, I kind of took a break. I mean, as we all know, this has been a weird year. And I'm really ready to start new in January and kind of start fresh. And I have this little book, where it is. It stays in my purse. And that's where I write down all my ideas.
Oh, nice.
It's full of ideas. It goes with me everywhere. Here it is. It's like this. It's just one of those little, like those little moleskin books,
Right, cute.
And it's just, there's just so much in there. I just keep writing down stuff. So I usually start with that because that'll usually jog my memory.
Right.
But I want to do some more traditional things, like some really pretty florals on 13 mesh. I know the needlepoint world has gone kind of contemporary or modern, or I don't know.
Right.
I think there's always room for a pretty floral or a more traditional. There is that customer that just wants to basket weave a beautiful pillow. And that's kind of what I'm looking. I also have, my girls have some more sayings for me. I'm sure I'll get those in.
I love it.
And some coaster, a little bit bigger coasters. They said they thought those coasters should be bigger. Okay, so these will be 4x4.
But those younger kids have bigger drinks than us old people do.
That may be it. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about that. That just might be it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I'm going to start with in January.
Oh, exciting. Well, I know that in talking, one of the gals here has an art degree, and she had said, I don't know how any of these designers have come up with anything good in 2020. And I was like, being a business person, I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, I was like not totally connecting. And she was making the comment that like, when the world is full of anxiety, it really affects your creative juices. I'm like, oh, duh, of course, so the fact that you came up with all these great things during this year is pretty amazing.
Well, but once I got the Nativity done and I felt like it was okay, I really didn't design anything since then.
Well, that's okay.
You kind of taken the rest of the year off, but now it's time. I'm ready. I'm ready to get back at it.
Good. Well, I hope that we will be able to see each other. I don't know, by September for sure. So
September. I don't know. What do you think about April?
I'm in Michigan. Our numbers are pretty high here. I'm not
terrible.
Yeah, I'm not thinking that that's going to happen, but there could be some great surprises. Maybe this vaccine will roll out faster than they think and we'll all be together. It would be great. But
yeah, I don't know. I know. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, good.
I look forward to seeing you whenever that is.
I know. And I look forward to hearing more about you virtually teaching, because you are a fabulous teacher, and we need to
work on that.
We need to find a way to get you connected to people, because it's you are a great teacher. So it would be great for you to be able to continue that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you have to get those 20-year-old girls who are into sassy sayings to maybe help along with the technology. So. Oh, well, good. Well, I so appreciate you spending time with me. And again, thank you for all of your support with the brick and mortar shops, because that's why I'm here. If the designers don't support me, I can't.
I love the shops. I love the owners. I've traveled enough. I know a lot of the owners, and after a while, you know them, their husbands, that, their pets, they're my friends, That's why it's been a tough year not to see everyone.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, at least we've got this, and a good way to spend time with people, and other people can get to know you. And we so appreciate that. So thank you so much. And for those of you that are watching us for the first time, hit subscribe when you're done, and you'll get a little notification once a week when we drop a new episode. And that lets other stitchers find us too, so they can get to know fabulous people like Patricia and all our other designers, who I'm now going to call Tricia, not Patricia. So I have to work on that.
It's okay. No, I've enjoyed watching. I think your timing was just wonderful with this podcast. I mean, with this YouTube thing, because I've watched all of them. I think they've been great.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Megan and I have had a lot of fun with it, and it's been great because we feel like we're getting to know people too. So it's super great. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you sometime soon, my dear.
Thank you. Thank you.